Okay, that should be everyone.
Good. Thanks, Kathy. All right. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found below. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means in the event that we are unable to do so. Despite best efforts, we will post on the City of Easthampton website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Should an interruption occur in which the meeting ends abruptly, the meeting will not be restarted and all agenda items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting. I will now call to order the February 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. This meeting is being recorded. Are there any public concerns or non-agenda items?
I have not received any.
Okay, seeing none, we will move on to public hearings or meetings. Public meeting, stormwater application filed by the Zengineer. Applicant is seeking a stormwater permit for stormwater structures associated with construction of an animal hospital at 410 Main Street, map 154, lot 8.
Yeah, Bucky, if it's all right, I'll just give a quick overview first and give a little explanation for the commission's benefit. So yeah, so this is a stormwater permit only. It's not a request for determination or notice of intent. There's no wetlands present in this area. However, we still do have jurisdiction or the authority through the city stormwater ordinance to review this stormwater permit. And the reason that that is the case is because this project is only going before the Zoning Board of Appeals. So typically it's determined whether or not it's the stormwater ordinance says either the planning board can do it or the Conservation Commission can do it, not the zoning board. And so usually something goes to one of us and not just the Zoning Board of Appeals. But in this instance, it didn't work out that way. So it was determined that we would probably be the best body to do that. We have the most commissioners who are familiar with stormwater, and we also just generally have the availability to do it. So that was kind of how it came to be this way. Like you said, the project's for an animal hospital, and I shared with you all the documents, but Bucky, if you want to, I don't know if you can maybe share the plans and give another overview, but maybe before, I don't know if anyone has any questions just administratively about us taking this on, or okay. All right, cool. Well, then I'll turn it over to you, Bucky, and you can give a show of what this is all about.
Thank you, Cassie. Okay, I will share my screen here. By the way, hi, my name is Bucky Sparkle. I'm the civil engineer for the project. To do the formal public, I guess it's a public meeting, not a hearing tonight, but it's not. They're not all the same to me, but I'm in front of the screen a lot doing this. So as many of you may know, the Easthampton Animal Hospital has been around in its present location for something like 34, 36 years. It was, I think it was Dr. Hawley was his name, never met the gentleman. He eventually retired, sold it to my clients, Kirsten Losert and the Easthampton Animal Hospital in its current form. So what you're looking at now, hopefully you can see the existing conditions plan. And this was a survey prepared by Harold Eaton and Associates. And it shows the existing paved parking area, the existing house, which is right up against the lot line there for Wamelco Way, as well as the rest of the parcel, which is doesn't have a lot going on, has one building, a little shack in the back, a utility pole back here and power lines. There are a couple of stormwater structures. There's an existing structure here and an existing structure here that presumably tie into the municipal system. We are disconnecting those and tying everything into our stormwater management system. So those untreated discharges are being eliminated. And everything that's in the hatched out shading is going to be removed from the site. So the old building is going to go once the new hospital's in place. And I'm going to move now to the proposed conditions site plan. So obviously I put a little more coloring work into the proposed conditions, and the old hospital is gone. There'll be a new hospital about 3,300 square feet in the corner of the site. Strangely, north is to the bottom left corner on this drawing. That was not my convention, but so I may just say top and left right for simplicity, because everything will be northeast or southwest otherwise. The new parking area, we are expanding the parking area. We're adding about 8,000 square feet of impervious area to the property. And the way it's all going to sheet flow to a low point right here. The low point right here. And that will then go through a rain guardian turret. So this is, it's sort of like a curb inlet that has a sump and a screen and filter on it. It collects quite a bit of total suspended solids. The company says 80%, but I looked at their documentation and I don't trust it over 60%. So I only qualified it as 60% TSS removal. We have a sediment forebay and then an overflow into the larger basin. Still not very big. These things are about 1.5 feet deep. The larger basin is also an infiltration basin now that we've done the pre-treatment. We also have an underdrain because the soils aren't particularly good through here. So I want to make sure that over time the forebay does drain out and we don't have standing water. So that connects to a control structure, and the control structure discharges each of the storm events to that discharge. They won't all discharge, but each of the storm events then goes to the left on the page, ideally out to a riprap section that we'd like to put in the Womelco right away. All the water ends up here anyway. This is a ditch that runs along Womelco Way, and all of the site discharges to here. So instead of crossing the neighbor's land where we didn't have any control over things and couldn't really do maintenance very easily, it seemed to make more sense to discharge straight to the right of way, which is where it's going anyway, and armor that area. So that's the gist of the plan. We've got some roof drains that connect. We've got a footing drain that heads out that way. Just to briefly, if I may switch screens here, just to give you a heads up, I'm going to go to the Massachusetts Stormwater Standards. All 10 of them. This was a redevelopment project. We've been able to easily meet all 10 standards, and briefly to go through them. The discharges is treated. We are reducing the peak rates, as you can see in the table. It varies from 24% reduction, 11% reduction, and for the big storms, it's just a 6% reduction, but it's lower. We are recharging quite a bit, about 3.4 times what we're required to do. That's how it works out nicely in the calculation, so I'm happy to do it. 93% reduction in total suspended solids. Of course, there's no stormwater management system now, so this is a big plus. It's not a site with higher potential pollutant loads. It's not in a critical area. We do have erosion controls and protections for the construction period, as well as a long-term O&M plan. And we did provide an illicit discharge statement because we don't anticipate there will be any. I'll go back to the site plan. But having actually not presented a stormwater management plan to a Concom before, I think what I'm going to do is stop there and just see what kind of questions are on the table, and I'm happy to address them.
Thank you. So I guess logistically, I have a question about the design if we were to zoom into the upper left corner where the riprap is proposed. I'm assuming that's within the roadway right-of-way outside the property line?
Yes.
Could you, and Maybe could you address how that's related to the overall compliance with stormwater management standards?
Okay, so there's a lot more riprap in the area than would be necessary except for the emergency overflow. So we do have to have an emergency overflow situation, which is this wide, it's about 10-foot wide apron of riprap through here. So if for some reason the inlet were clogged and other inlets in the control structure were clogged, or water was coming in at a higher rate than the 100-year storm could discharge through the system, you might get an emergency overflow. So we have had to armor all of this area. So this sort of rectangular section is just the emergency overflow. This section down here, still probably a little big due to the emergency overflow. We probably don't need quite that much just for a 12-inch pipe to discharge. But we do have to allow the flow rate coming out of here up to 6 cubic feet per second. We're staying under the 12 feet per second velocity, but we do need the energy dissipation as soon as possible so that it can continue to just run along the ditch in a natural state.
And logistically, who in the city, just because it's outside the property line and within the roadway right of way, who in the city authorizes that aspect of things?
The comment I got from the city engineer was they didn't have a problem with it. Now, the answer to your question, I do not have exactly. The reality is it's public right of way, and all the water is going to be discharging there, whether or not the riprap is on our site or on the city. So that's something that perhaps we could get a little more clarity from the DPW on. They don't seem to be concerned with how that is laid out. Of course, the maintenance to riprap is wildly minor. In fact, you can let trees grow up right through it. It doesn't matter at all. You don't have to mow it. Any vegetation that wants to volunteer through there is totally welcome, as long as it's not poison ivy. I have a thing about poison ivy. But we do, as long as that is in place, anything can be on top of it. So the maintenance is basically zero. The maintenance is really, having to do with pipes and the other hard components of the system.
Is that an opinion or a position that has been provided in writing, that the city is, that the DPW or the engineer is in support of, or does not object to these improvements on city right of way?
Yes, that came in quite recently. Let me just.
Yeah, I got the email, the response from Dan Murphy, the city engineer, today. I haven't put it before DPW at all. I don't know if that's, I guess that would be the people who potentially would manage it more. I'm not sure.
Well, my concern stems from if this is part of the design, and then authorization to construct this or this gets modified in the future is somehow changed, then the function of the system isn't as presented or intended. I understand the merits. I just want to make sure that.
I think this is worth finding out for 100% certain. It's a point that I can't answer directly. And of course, I'll be at the ZBA Wednesday night, but even they won't be able to answer your question. So I think we will, obviously they're not going to be breaking ground this week. So I'm happy to come back to the commission with that answer to make sure that we have that detail worked out.
Thank you.
Okay.
What is you mentioned about an increase of about 8,000 or so square feet of an impervious area?
Yes.
What is the total limit of disturbance associated with construction? Because it looks like the tree line gets changed pretty significantly.
Yes, it does. The whole site is just under 40,000 square feet, and we are necessarily clearing the majority of it. It's just the trees in the upper right quarter and down here in the bottom right quadrant that are remaining in place, as well as there's a patch of trees over here that is adjacent to the existing structure. So we are disturbing something like 36,000 square feet.
And is there any, other than loam and seed, is there any area with a revegetation plan to further stabilize it?
Mostly just the grass for the disturbed areas. There's some landscape plantings, but that's not particularly important. We've got one tree in the parking lot. Is there something that the commission would like to see in particular?
Not at this time, but I haven't really dug into the proposed plantings. I'm concerned about the extensive disturbance at the site, and then the long-term, the short and long-term stabilization measures.
Okay, so it sounds like you're going to want something more specific on seed mixture. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm curious about that, yeah, and I don't know yet. I will say I haven't scoured the drawings, so if it's in here, I just haven't found it.
Well, in general, the light green area that is the bulk of this site is just scheduled for grass at this point. Simple maintenance. Also good for dogs to pee on.
Okay, that's all I have at this time. I would like to open it up to other commission members.
I just want to run through stormwater design related questions.
Sure.
So, did you do test pit infiltration test or anything like that? And what did you find? And
yes,
we have a long history in Easthampton of basins that are supposed to drain and don't. So.
Right.
Yes.
Well, there. So the test pit question, I'll zoom in a little bit. There were multiple test holes. There were holes done for the structural evaluation, which I leaned on that geology report to a certain degree, but they're not looking for the same thing that I'm looking for. So I didn't even include those soil logs. I did my own test pits, number 1 and number 2, on this site, and they number 2 ended up being in the infiltration area. Test pit 1 is below the infiltration area. So I did evaluate those soils. On the soil logs are on page 61. No, I'm sorry, page 96. There it is. There's copies of other stuff in here. Page 96 of the stormwater report. So I am a soil evaluator, for deep holes for septic systems. So, I go through that process of doing the NRCS classification. I also did run a permeameter test in the most restrictive layer that's going to be under the stormwater management system. We have loamy, sandy loams, really. There is some amount of sand at the top, but we're going to scrape off the thick stuff until we get down to, there are sand deposits, several feet of sand under the site. So we're going to get rid of the loam and just open up the bottom of the basin directly to the underlying sand formation.
Okay. All right. What's the soil type in this area?
I believe we are at Hinkley for no, I'm sorry. Most of it is Paxton fine sandy loam.
Okay. Um, so that should infiltrate pretty well. It seems like once you get down to it.
Yeah, it should do okay. We had the permeability of about 3.6 feet per day for the horizontal conductivity, which is respectable.
Okay. Are there? I'm trying to remember. Are there any wetlands anywhere near? Obviously, there aren't like right at the site, but
No, but the closest that I was able to find, let me jump up. I'll go to the locust plan here. If we look at the site is this rectangle, and here's the rail trail, and this you can, I have some graphics over here, but you can see whatever this water course is, there is wetland back here that drains under the rail trail right through here. So this is all dry woods until around here, and so I can't tell you exactly where we're at. This is the site's about 200 by 200, so you can see we're perhaps 500 or 600 feet away from a wetland. But
Bucky,
that,
sorry
yes,
to interrupt. Do you
yeah.
know what the dominant canopy in that forested area is? If you had to identify trees and.
I didn't really walk off site, to tell you the truth. So I'm not sure what I'm going to be looking at. I know on the south side of the rail trail, just because I used to live over here on the side, is a huge amount of pine trees, um, except for where it's open and meadow. But I don't know that that's the case through here on the this is the KC Small Firearms Facility. So I don't know what they have growing.
Thank you.
okay. So, um, what storm? So that sort of auxiliary overflow, emergency overflow. That's for big storms, obviously. But there'll be discharges through the outlet for most storm sizes. Do you want
Yes.
to do that? Yeah. Again. Okay.
There has to be a minimum volume captured before there's a discharge. So let me go, let's see, try to figure out the best way to describe this. Whoops, it's got to go back. See, I'm trying to not talk in my computer while I'm frustrated with it because I'm on a live meeting, but sometimes. So we have the overflow here is at elevation 95, and the forebay is 93 and a half. So this has to fill up with 1.5 feet of water before anything is released to the infiltration basin. And then this inlet is raised here so as to provide a minimum amount of groundwater recharge, um, the way we need to calculate that. Um, so the question is, what's the question? What's the smallest storm that will discharge water from the site? I'm not sure what the question is. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm asking.
Okay, I'll have to get into my HydroCAD a little bit here to do that, because I know we are discharging at the 2-year storm.
Mhm.
So see if the power of differential equations can help me out here. I know that a 1/2-inch storm discharges nothing from the site. And of course, most storm events are going to be in the 1/2-inch um, range. But let me see.
Well, I guess let's pause there for a second. So
Okay.
water enters the forebay, and then like a really small storm, I guess, would be retained within the forebay and not jump over into the basin. But
Correct.
But it would still leach out the under drain and out to the outlet structure. Is that correct?
Yes, over time, the underdrain would be the path of least resistance. So I would say the majority of the water will eventually drain out that way. Some of it will soak into the ground, but I consider that to be negligible.
Yep. So that component that stays in the forebay doesn't really, that's not contributing to recharge. It's really whatever gets over into the main basin, the main part of the basin that contributes to recharge.
Partially, if the under drain section, I'm going to take you to the cross section of that. So I'm going to jump a few pages into the details. It's probably this page. Right, so here's this sort of under drain or wick outlet. So the bottom 6 inches is open stone, and that has to be full before there's any discharge from the pipe. So for smaller storms, it's going to not even fill in 6 inches of stone and will eventually just leach into the ground. And I've ignored those values because they're pretty small, but there is that reality that small storms are going to end up going into the sand, into the stone, and then into the ground before there is any discharge through the wick outlet.
Okay, so I guess I'm wondering what storm size will result in flow into the main basin that then contributes to recharge, if that's a number you have.
I can probably create this number here. I know a ½ inch is discharging nothing. 3 inches gives us a 2-year storm. So I'm gonna see what happens. At 1 inch, 1 inch of rain, there's still no discharge from the system. 1½ inch of rain, we get 0.23 cubic feet per second comes out of the proposed system. So somewhere between 1 inch and 1.5 inches of rain before we start discharging in a 24-hour storm.
So that inch of rain is going into the sediment forebay.
Yes.
And then some proportion of it is spilling over into the main basin and infiltrating there.
Yes.
Yeah. But not all of it will infiltrate because some is going to go out the wick drain. And
that is true.
Yeah. So I guess that's what I'm wondering, like what proportion of that actually infiltrates.
I can tease that out of my model. That's not something I've ever been asked to do, but I can certainly, come up with a reasonable answer on that. I guess I can model the wick as another infiltration basin, basically.
I guess what I'm saying is if we're, expecting a certain amount of infiltration for a certain storm size, but then we're losing some of it, if we're losing some of it through that under drain, if that's like a negligible amount or if it's, is it 1% or is it 20% or something? I don't know.
Oh, that's a reasonable question. And it's not beyond my capability to come up with an answer. I just can't tell you that on a meeting right now because it will take some time for me to model that.
Yep.
Okay. I know that there's that 65% rule for capturing water. We're well over that in the recharge realm, but I'll come up with some answer on that.
Okay. I mean, and if you're complying, it's no big deal. But if it's close, I guess I'd like to just make sure that, it's meeting the performance standard and all that.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, my worst case scenario, for some reason, I come up with a number that's too small for the wick under drain here. I can always just increase the footprint of that um, to a certain extent. I mean, we're building on a slope, but I can still work with that. Okay.
Other questions? So the owner of the completed site, we think will be also the entity that's building it now, right? So the operations and maintenance, everybody's going in full, with full knowledge of how it was designed and what the O&M intent is and that sort of thing.
Yeah, the applicant is the owner and they will operate this facility.
Excellent. Much easier way of saying what I was trying to ask. Okay, that's good. And so I think, so you said drainage now goes out, presumed to the municipal stormwater system.
Partly.
Partly, yeah. And now it will all be going through the stormwater system and eventually through the, or some of it will go to the swale, it will milk away. So is it the Route 10 system or is there a drainage and will milk away currently?
No, it just turns into that wetland eventually. The Wamelco Way continues to descend all the way down to the rail trail. And when they built the railroad, there's big culvert that they installed there to let the water go by, but they created a pretty good wetland back there. So that's where it's headed.
Okay. And are there any discharges? Are there any current discharges to the swale along Route Wamelco Way, or not? Just surface runoff?
Not to my knowledge, no. I didn't survey that. I've only walked that swale along our property line. I've walked down Wamelco Way, but it's reasonably overgrown there. I don't anticipate that there are other discharges. There are buildings on the east side of Wamelco. I don't know where their stormwater goes, if they have any systems whatsoever. They're older, so I would imagine they don't.
Yep. Okay. I guess that's all my questions for now. I think I'm good. Thank you for answers. Sounds like there's one or two things we could follow up with next time.
Yep, I can find those answers.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from members of the commission? No? Jay, Michael, Deborah? Not at this time? Okay, so we have a couple of outstanding items that we can hopefully address.
Can I verify that my list
Please.
here for my homework? One is find out from the DPW regarding how they feel about the riprap and any maintenance issues therein. That's in the public right of way. Also come up with the species for the planting around here. Just by the nature of that question, I'm betting that we now pull out like a Berkshire conservation mix or something along those lines for some of the steeper areas of the site and maybe around the basin, something that's mowable but has some native species diversity. I think most of this, of course, is just going to be lawn. And then finding out what portion of the site is discharging to the groundwater recharge. And now that I look at it, I'm realizing that quite a bit of the roof does not go through the forebay. It doesn't have to. So right there, that's going to send a lot of water into the infiltration basin. But I have to break apart the model because I didn't model it like that. So those are the three things. Is there anything else?
Dan Buttrick, is there anything else? Cassie, did you note anything else?
That was it for me. Do you want me to read the comment from the city engineer at this time, or wait till the next meeting, or?
Read it.
Sure, please do.
Okay, hold on just a second. It's very short. So said, this was received today, February 22nd. He said, I reviewed the stormwater report and the plans and am satisfied with both. My only comment is that they are proposing some work at the drainage outlet, riprap installation and tree removal in the Wamalco right-of-way. I'm not opposed to the work, just pointing it out. I also calculated stormwater related bond amount to be $31,250. This includes fill material and rough grading, fine grading, wick stone, riprap, control structure, rain guard turret, and piping within the basin's area. Signed, Dan Murphy.
Thank you. All right, so those follow-up items, and I believe that means if there's no further discussion. Are there any comments from the public?
I didn't receive any comments from the public, sorry.
So with that, to allow time to address those outstanding items, is there a motion to continue to March 8th, 2021 at 6 p.m.? Excuse me.
Motion to continue to March 8th at 6 p.m.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, roll call vote. August?
Aye.
Busa, absent. Buttrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Whittemore?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll see you on the 8th. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I'll get those answers for you. Have a good night.
You too.
you.
All right, moving on. We have no requests for certificates of compliance. Enforcement actions. Are there any updates that you want to mention, Cassie?
Yeah, yep. I got a request for the Lovefield intersection, Lovefield Ferry Street intersection. They would have made a request to suspend their reporting due to site stability and lack of work. And go ahead.
I was still on enforcement. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why. I just jumped right ahead.
That's okay. That must mean there are no updates at this time, which
Yeah,
surprising in the middle of winter.
everything is waiting until spring.
Okay. Open space updates.
Oh yeah, so for Echodale, let's see, I had a meeting with Jeff today, which was good because it confirmed that, well, he made a good note that there was a question of through the bidding that where we left off, it was kind of trying to figure out the bidding process for the work. And he made a note that if it's under, the amount that we would need to pay is under $10,000, it may not require the bidding process. We may be able to just choose who would do that landscape work for us. And that made me wonder too, when, just from reading the proposals and the last information, like, it's not Land Stewardship Inc. who would do that? Or is it just, because one of the proposals that I was reading, or the latest proposal was stating that they were going to send us an invoice and like that they had generated a price amount. So I think I now where it's at now is I'm kind of waiting to hear back from Land Stewardship just to try to, reconnect with them more fully on going forward. And then also talking to Mike Owens here at the city. Oh, it looks like we lost some people. I think we lost Dan. Did we, or am I wrong? And also Deborah.
I don't see him.
Oh, she lost power. She just texted me. Someone got a power outage in part of the city, apparently.
My lights just flickered, so.
Oh my gosh. Mine go out, but they just do that because it's on a timer. So I thought that was just me. Oh, and I think Melissa's power is out as well. It says she's still here, but I think she's frozen. Oh, no.
Oh, I lost power too.
Wow. Darn. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that means we have to stop the meeting because, oh, here, Dan's coming back. Maybe not. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. So we've had a thing in place saying that if we experience technical difficulties, that we end the meeting and everything is automatically continued to the next meeting. And the reasoning for that was particularly in like instances where there's a lot of public interest and we can't get people to come back. It's like too confusing to try to get everyone to have to come back and notify everybody what the deal was. So we don't want anyone to miss anything. So I don't know.
Yeah, hi, thanks for letting me back in. I'm on my phone now, just in case, but we just had one quick power blip and one really big power blip where I was sitting here in the dark for a minute. But but it sounds like we lost Melissa, or it looks like we lost Melissa.
Yeah, and Deb.
Yep.
I was just thinking about like, do we have to continue everything to the next meeting? I wonder if this qualifies for that weird little rule we gave ourselves, but part of me feels like not. If they can come back, I feel like.
You didn't lose power, right?
Who? Me?
You, yeah,
No.
yeah.
Oh.
So, I guess I would think that we could keep going unless.
We have a quorum.
I don't know. I don't think so anymore. Do we?
Let's wait 5 minutes.
Melissa should be able to rejoin.
Well, if we have 6 members, we need 4 people.
Say yes.
Yeah.
Tree must have fell on something.
Exciting intro meeting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah, just as like a note, just in case we can't continue. Amy, thank you so much for coming. Amy has applied to, or is in the process of applying, I guess, to potentially become the next a commissioner, taking up Jessica Harwood's space. I sent all of them your little blurb and access to your website. So, but the commission doesn't, it's funny because the commission doesn't actually vote on this or anything like that. It's still just nice of you to come and introduce yourself and just see how kind of it works. This has already been atypical because we did a stormwater permit with nothing else, but oh well.
Okay, I might have to pop off in a little bit because I gotta feed the kiddo, but.
Yeah. No
Great.
problem. Just coming at all was great, so.
Well, thanks for joining, Amy.
I think I will leave you guys to it. I hope that you get power back.
Thanks.
All right. Good night.
Nice to meet you guys, and I'll see you at the next meeting, hopefully.
All right.
All right, good night. Yeah, I don't know. Melissa said she's still trying to connect, but. I think.
Maybe we should, if she can't get on in 5 minutes or something, maybe we should bag it for.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing really is there anything important that we got to talk about or just?
The
minor?
only thing that was something that you guys could have voted on was whether or not you want to suspend reporting for the Lovefield intersection, but he didn't get back to me for like a while. Jay, that was when we did that site visit together.
Yeah, that's right. It was snow covered, so we didn't really see a lot. So it was, he was going to send me some photos.
Yeah, he hasn't sent me those pictures yet.
All right.
So it's not like, I think it'll be okay if it goes to the next meeting.
Right. But he should send the pictures so at least we can see what it looked like because it's going to be weeks before we can see the ground again.
Right, exactly. So, all right, cool. I'll make sure to, it's for the best then, so we can wait until that point. Anyway. Oh, Melissa just texted me, said she can't connect at this time.
Okay. All right, well, let's bag it then.
All right, cool. Well, thanks everyone for coming and trying to get back on. Appreciate it.
Jay, make a motion.
Well, we can't vote, so it's a crash.
It's just a crash. I'll make a note in the minutes.
No problem. All right. Good night, everybody.
All right.
Good night, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.